Vision is not a statement, it is a translation. A goal is a number, vision is a picture. Your brand is not your logo. Your brand is how your team treats someone on a random Tuesday afternoon. The moment I stopped trying to be the glue and started building the structure, everything changed. Right now, your team is operating from a version of your vision. Not your vision, a version of it. Missing the edges, missing the feeling, missing the specific standard you hold in your mind for what the experience in your practice should look and feel like. And the distance between those two things, between what you see and what they execute, is quietly costing you more than any marketing campaign, any staffing issue, or any slow month ever has. Because here's what that gap actually produces. You give the same instruction for the third time this month and wonder why it's not sticking. The patient drops off after 3 visits and you cannot pinpoint why. Your team is trying, genuinely trying, and things still feel slightly off in a way you cannot quite name. That is not a people problem. That is not a translation problem. And the moment you understand the difference, everything changes. Today, we are talking about vision and communication. 2 words that get thrown around constantly in leadership circles and almost never taught in any practical, usable way. So let me start with the reframe that changes everything. Vision is not a statement. It is a translation. Your job as the leader of your practice is not to have a vision. Every chiropractor I have ever coached has a vision. The picture is there. The dream is real. The intention is genuine. Your job is to translate that vision from something that lives in your head into something your team can execute, your patients can feel, and your practice can deliver constantly without you holding it together every single day. That translation, that is the work most chiropractors never do. Let me take you back to a specific moment in my own practice. Early on, I had a very clear picture in my mind of what the patient experience in my clinic should feel like. Calm, warm, intentional. The music was specific. The lighting was deliberate. The scent, we even developed our own candle with 3 scents that had personal meaning to me. The way the team greeted patients, the way they transitioned them from the front desk to the treatment room. All of it was very clear in my mind. But for a long time, that picture existed only in my mind. My team was doing their very best. And their best was based on their own interpretation of what a good patient experience looked like. Not a clearly communicated standard that I had actually given them. The result was a patient experience that was good on some days and inconsistent on others. Strong when I was there, a little softer when I was not. And I kept making the mistake that most chiropractors make. I thought the solution was to remind people more often, to repeat the standard, to check in more frequently. But reminding is not communicating. Repeating is not leading. And checking in constantly is not building a system. It is becoming the system. The moment I stopped trying to be the glue and started building the structure, everything changed. Here is the framework I want to give you today. 3 dimensions of vision that every practice needs and that most practices only partially have. Dimension 1, your practice vision. This is the big picture where your practice is going, what it stands for, who it serves, what the experience feels like, what you are building toward in the next 3 to 5 years. And I want to be specific about what a real practice vision looks like. Because most chiropractors have goals, not visions. A goal is a number. A vision is a picture. A goal says, I want to generate $1 million in revenue by the end of next year. A vision says, I am building a practice where every patient who walks through our door feels seen, heard, and genuinely cared for. Where my team operates with such clarity and confidence that the experience is identical whether I'm there or not. Where our reputation in this community is built not on marketing, but on the quality of what we constantly deliver. That picture, specific, sensory, emotionally resonant, is what your team can actually execute from. Numbers alone cannot do that. Your team cannot follow a goal. They can follow a picture. Dimension 2, your patient vision. This is the picture you hold in your mind for every individual patient who sits across from you. Before you walk into that treatment room, what do you see as the outcome for that person? And I want to distinguish between 2 very different ways of entering your treatment room. The first is clinical. You have reviewed the intake form, you know the diagnoses, you potentially have a treatment plan already. You are ready to deliver care. The second is visionary. You know the diagnoses, and you also know what this person came in for beneath the diagnoses. The low back pain is not the real problem. Not being able to play with their children is the real problem. The shoulder impingement is not what they care about. Not being able to compete in the event that they have been training for is what they are caring about. Patients do not come in for what they say. They come in for what that problem is preventing them. When you hold that vision for your patient, when you see their real outcome, not just their presenting complaint, your communication changes completely. How you explain the care, how you present the financial conversation changes. How the patient responds changes. Because now you are not selling them an adjustment. You are offering them the life they came in to get back. A clinical psychologist I worked with early on in my career said something that permanently changed how I think about this. She said, Charbel, stop projecting your financial insecurities onto your patients and make their financial decisions for them before they even had a chance to make it themselves. And you are making clinical decisions from fear instead of pure clinical judgment. That reframe from financial gatekeeping to genuine advocacy is where confidence in the treatment room actually comes from. Dimension 3, your communication system. This is where vision becomes culture and where most practices leak the most value. Here's the behavioral truth about communication that most leadership programs never teach. Communication is not measured by what you said. It is measured by what they did after you said it. If you gave your team a clear direction and they did not follow through, that is almost never a discipline problem. It is a communication system problem. The message did not land in a way that produced the behavior. And the solution is not to say it louder and more often. The solution is to build a structure that does not depend on you saying it at all. In my own practice, we have 5 layers of communication that runs consistently. Daily connection. Every morning before the day starts, I check in with my team. Not a formal meeting, a real human conversation. Where are you today? Are we aligned on what matters most this week, today? That daily touch points takes 5 minutes, and it's the most important 5 minutes of my leadership day. One-on-one meetings. Every doctor meets with me individually once a month when they are new. Every other month after that. Not a performance review, an alignment conversation. How are you feeling? Where are you stuck? What do you need from me? 3. Group sessions. The doctors meet as a group every other Thursday for clinical standards, cultural reinforcement, the shared identity of what it means to be part of this team. 4th, full team roundtable. The entire team every other Thursday. We discuss values, metrics, wins, and always a moment of humanity, because we're not just colleagues. We're a group of human beings building something together. 5. Quarterly cultural meetings. 4 times a year, we stop entirely and we step away from operations. And we share food, conversation, patient reviews read out loud, celebrations, reconnection to what we do and why we do this. None of those touch points exist by accident. Every single one was intentionally designed to keep the vision alive, to keep translating it so it does not have to live only in my head. Now let me talk about how this translates externally to your patients. Because here's something worth understanding about how patient makes decisions. They're not making rational calculations. Patients are making emotional ones. They are asking, can I trust this person? Do they see me? Do they understand what I actually need? Those questions get answered not through your credentials or clinical expertise. They get answered through signals, the tone of the voice that answers the phone, the way your team transitions them into the treatment room, whether you make eye contact before you even open your mouth, whether you pause before responding, or immediately launch into your findings. Every one of those signals is communication, and every one of them either reinforces your vision or quietly contradicts it. Your brand is not your logo. Your brand is how your team treats someone on a random Tuesday afternoon. And here's the patient communication principle worth installing permanently. Connect every visit back to their actual goal, not the diagnoses, the life, every time. Not your L4, L5 is showing improvement on palpation. But you told me when you came in that you wanted to get back to training. I want you to know we are making real progress toward that. Here's where we are, and here's what comes next. That one shift from clinical reporting to outcome storytelling changes retention more than any marketing campaign you'll ever run. Here's where I want to leave you with today. Go back to that question I opened with. If I pulled your front desk aside right now and asked them to describe where your practice is going and what it stands for, what would they say? If the answer makes you uncomfortable, that discomfort is information. It's telling you exactly where that translation work needs to happen. Your clarity is your team's compass. And your team's compass is your patient's experience. And your patient's experience is your practice reputation. It all flows from one source, you. This week, I want you to do one thing. Sit down and write your vision statement. Not a marketing tagline, not a mission statement, a real, specific, sensory description of what you are building, what it looks like, what it feels like, what patients says when they leave you, what your team says when someone asks them where they work. Write it, then share it with one team member. Not as a speech, as a conversation. And pay attention to the gap between what you said and what they understood. That gap is your starting point.